So when you see a comic book character, casually wave their hand and suddenly summon a massive hurricane.
Right, like it's nothing.
Yeah, exactly. You probably don't stop to actually map out the atmospheric pressure gradients required to make that happen.
Definitely not.
Hand goes up, clouds get dark, lightning strikes. We just accept it, right? But it's this visual shorthand for absolute power. But reading through the sources for today's deep dive.
Oh, it gets so complicated.
It really does.
Right.
We're talking deep-cut Reddit threads, Wikipedia archives, Screen Rant analyses, and some seriously intense science fiction forum debates. And you quickly realize that dragging that comic panel into our actual reality is, well, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it completely breaks physics.
It does,
Wow.
attempting to explain the mechanical, real-world physics of controlling the weather. It just sends you down this massive rabbit hole of particle physics, hyperbiology, and chaos theory. So welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are looking at whether these powers are scientifically plausible or if she's just a god.
And to set a baseline for this deep dive, we are looking at one of the most iconic Omega-level mutants ever. She was introduced way back in 1975 in giant-size X-Men #1, Storm, Ororo Munroe.
The legend herself.
Exactly. And the overarching question across all these sources we pulled is whether her powers actually work within the realm of theoretical physics. Because the consensus among the scientific analyses is that, reducing her to someone who just, quote-unquote, controls the weather completely misunderstands her mutation.
Right, she doesn't just have a mystical weather button in her brain.
Yeah.
If we want to figure out if she's scientifically plausible, we have to define what she's actually doing on a mechanical level. Like, how does she make rainfall or lightning strike out of a clear blue sky?
So the forums often use this term, atmokinesis.
Atmokinesis sounds like a magic spell.
Right, it sounds totally made up. But mechanically, the sources define her ability as this highly specific microscale form of telekinesis.
Microscale telekinesis.
Yeah. She possesses a psionic manipulation of energy fields right down to the atomic and molecular level. So when Storm creates lightning, she isn't magically spawning electricity from her fingertips like some wizard.
Okay, so what is she doing?
She is mentally reaching into the atmosphere, grabbing electrons, and literally stripping them from their atoms.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she does this to create a massive potential difference until the dielectric breakdown of the air occurs, which results in a lightning strike.
That is insane.
And when she makes it rain, she isn't creating water. She is literally forcing water vapor molecules in the atmosphere to condense and organize on the fly.
See, I found this amazing comparison in one of the Reddit threads that contrasts her with Magneto. And I think it perfectly highlights why her specific brand of telekinesis is so incredibly difficult to comprehend.
Oh, the mixing board analogy.
Yes. So they point out that Magneto is relatively easy to understand because he controls one universal constant, right? Electromagnetism. He is effectively turning a single volume dial up and down. But weather isn't one single thing. It's this chaotic, totally interconnected collection of entirely separate mechanics. Wind is caused by temperature and pressure differences. Rain is moisture density. Lightning is static discharge.
So she's not operating a single dial. She is operating a 100-channel mixing board of atmospheric variables.
Right.
To create just a single localized thunderstorm, she has to instinctively adjust the temperature slider, the barometric pressure slider, the humidity slider, the electromagnetic charge.
All at the same time.
All simultaneously, in real time. And she has to balance them against the natural rotation of the Earth.
I mean, the cognitive load required to instinctively calculate those fluid dynamics, it's unfathomable for a normal human brain.
It's basically supercomputing.
Yeah. And because her telekinesis operates on that molecular level, it's not limited to the clouds above her, right? If she controls pressure and air molecules, she can manipulate the air inside any localized environment. Like the sources pointed out instances where she manipulates the air inside a person's lungs.
Expanding or contracting it, yeah.
Yeah, which is terrifying.
Oh, it gets worse. She can also control the atmospheric pressure inside the human inner ear.
Ugh, just thinking about that makes my head hurt.
Right. By creating this sudden, severe drop in barometric pressure localized purely around an opponent's head, she pushes against the tympanic membrane. It causes debilitating, intense pain and completely shatters their equilibrium.
So she doesn't even need to expend the energy to summon a tornado if she can just mentally crush your balance centers.
Exactly. Why bother with a storm when you can just drop the pressure in someone's ear?
But wait, that brings up a huge question for me. If she is mentally manipulating barometric pressure to that extreme degree, or ripping water molecules apart, Every physical action has an equal and opposite reaction.
Basic physics, yeah.
So if she drops the atmospheric pressure drastically to crush someone's inner ear, the ambient environment around her own body is going to violently react. Why doesn't her own eardrum rupture? If a regular telekinetic mutant like, say, Jean Grey managed to mentally manipulate the atmosphere to create a localized sub-zero blizzard.
Jean would just freeze to death in the middle of it.
Exactly. She would freeze.
And that is a huge point in the sources. The official handbooks, cited in the wiki archives, they explain that her mutation isn't just in her brain, it's an entire physiological package.
Okay.
Her telekinetic brain is housed inside a body possessing these extreme physiological adaptations designed specifically to survive the atomic chaos she orchestrates.
So she's built for it.
Built for it. Her body automatically and instantly compensates for climate extremes. If she drops the temperature around her to sub-zero, her body rapidly alters its own internal metabolic temperature to fight off hypothermia and frostbite in real time.
So she must have some sort of hypermetabolic furnace running in her cells just to generate that kind of instantaneous thermal regulation.
She has to, but it goes way beyond just temperature. Think about how she flies.
Oh, she flies fast.
Incredible speeds, sometimes supersonic. At Mach speeds, the kinetic friction of the air would literally melt the skin off a normal human. And the wind pressure...
She just collapse their lungs immediately.
Right. But her biology compensates for all of that. She can breathe while moving at those velocities without suffering from air friction, and her body instantly reinforces itself against the rapid shifts in atmospheric pressure.
Wow.
Yeah, without that biological reinforcement, the violent barometric drops required to form her tornadoes would basically give her the bends. It would boil the nitrogen in her blood.
That is so gross, but fascinating. So her body is a tank. But her sensory perception has to be fundamentally altered too, right? If you're operating that 100-channel mixing board, you need sensory input to, read the room. Human eyes only see a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum.
Exactly. And the texts note this really cool biological quirk. When she uses her powers, her eyes turn solid white.
Which looks awesome, obviously.
It looks amazing, but it isn't just a dramatic visual effect. When her eyes go white, she ceases seeing the world in standard photons. She actually perceives the universe in terms of kinetic, thermal, and electromagnetic energy vectors.
Wait, really? So she doesn't just see a cloud?
No, she isn't just looking at a dark cloud. She is actively seeing the thermal updrafts, the moisture density, and the electrical charge as visible, tangible patterns in the air.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, so we have a mutant whose brain intuitively calculates fluid dynamics on a molecular level, and whose body is a hyper-adapted biological tank. That brings us to the actual laws of real-world physics, specifically the conservation of energy.
Oh, the thermodynamics debate?
Yes. Because you can't just spawn energy out of nowhere. Thermodynamics dictates that energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed or transferred.
And the science fiction forums debate this endlessly because on the surface, she regularly breaks the laws of thermodynamics.
Oh, all the time.
Like a classic example discussed in the sources, she can create a bubble of breathable air around herself in the frozen vacuum of an extreme environment, and she can decide to just make it pleasantly warm.
But in the real world, that thermal energy has to come from somewhere. If she is heating a localized bubble of air, she must be drawing thermal energy from the surrounding environment. She'd effectively be freezing the area immediately outside her bubble, even harder to fuel that heat.
And that's where the Dixerto analysis comes in. They tackle this by introducing the concept of a natural give and take.
Give and take.
Yeah, they argue that she isn't creating weather from nothing, but rather shifting it. If she manipulates the weather to create a high-pressure system in one area, adjacent geographical areas have their expected natural reactions to balance out that shift in the atmosphere.
Okay, I'm going to push back aggressively on that idea being a neat, tidy explanation.
Go for it.
Because if she is bound by real-world physics and shifting weather around, she is a walking nightmare for chaos theory.
Oh, the butterfly effect.
It's exactly. The butterfly effect suggests that a tiny change in a complex deterministic system can result in massive, unpredictable consequences. If she pulls moisture out of the air to summon a massive rainstorm over the Sahara Desert, she is technically stealing that moisture from another ecosystem's natural cycle.
Right, that water vapor had to be diverted from somewhere else.
Exactly. If she makes a Category 5 hurricane instantly dissipate over New York, she alters the global atmospheric currents. Did she just accidentally cause a devastating drought in Europe 3 weeks later?
You know, it's funny you say that because the comics actually validate that exact concern.
Boy, they do.
Yeah, in one specific storyline, she explicitly commands rain to fall to end a drought in a single village. But because she threw off the natural global atmospheric order, localized droughts were instantly formed over numerous adjacent villages.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it led to the death of hundreds of animals. The environment demanded a balance. She had to learn to carefully distribute the weather patterns globally to maintain the planet's equilibrium. She's interacting with a closed planetary system, meaning every time she uses her powers, she is borrowing against the global climate.
The level of responsibility there is just terrifying. She isn't just fighting a villain. She is constantly doing planetary climate calculus so she doesn't accidentally cause a famine in another hemisphere.
And her molecular control also allows for incredibly precise scientific applications that bypass traditional weather entirely. The sources highlight her ability to use electrolysis.
Oh, this is the underwater thing, right?
Yeah. By applying her manipulation of electrons, she can literally break the covalent bonds between hydrogen and oxygen atoms in water molecules.
So she mentally splits H2O, extracting the oxygen gas directly from the ocean around her so she can breathe underwater.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of her being a molecular telekinetic rather than just a rainmaker. But that actually leads us to the ultimate boundary test.
Okay, what is it?
If her powers rely on manipulating the moisture, heat, and atmospheric pressure of Earth's closed system, what happens when she leaves Earth entirely?
Oh, right. Because entering the vacuum of space should theoretically render her powerless. There's no moisture to condense, no air pressure to manipulate, no localized thermal updrafts.
None of it.
It should be like taking a fish out of water. You can't operate a 100-channel atmospheric mixing board if the studio itself doesn't exist.
You'd think so. Yet her powers scale to a cosmic degree. In deep space, she doesn't lose her abilities. She simply shifts her telekinetic focus to different mediums.
What kind of mediums?
She manipulates interstellar media, solar winds, cosmic storms, and ambient hydrogen atoms floating in the vacuum.
So instead of riding thermal updrafts, she is basically surfing plasma and solar radiation.
Surfing plasma, exactly. And Screen Rant highlights this staggering feat in the comic Fall of the House of X #4.
I saw this in the note. It's wild.
It really is. She travels near the sun to fight the villain Nimrod. And she doesn't just manipulate the ambient solar flares. She literally brings an Earth-born thunderstorm with her into the vacuum of space. She drags an atmosphere across the solar system to unleash it near the sun.
Okay, just let's pause and think about the physics of that. To bring a thunderstorm into a vacuum, she would have to maintain a telekinetic bubble containing the air, the moisture, and the pressure gradients, right?
Yeah.
To prevent the vacuum of space from instantly ripping the atmosphere apart.
Yes.
While simultaneously traveling through space.
And the physics of the travel itself are even more problematic.
Right, because of the speed.
Yeah. Screen Rant includes commentary from X-Men editor Jordan D. White regarding her velocity during this event. To intercept Nimrod, she was traveling near the speed of light, approaching 299,792,458 meters per second.
Which is, I mean, as an object with mass approaches the speed of light, the energy required to move it approaches infinity.
Right. And White explicitly noted that she couldn't be moving exactly at light speed because pushing a human body with biological mass to that absolute velocity would theoretically tear her physical atoms apart.
She'd just disintegrate.
Exactly. But she was dancing on the absolute edge of it. And the sources also reference an alternate timeline in the Sins of Sinister storyline where Storm reaches her absolute final form.
Oh, this is crazy.
In this timeline, her manipulation of energy and atoms is so profound, she literally manifests a red sun.
Red sun.
Yeah, she goes from manipulating weather to sparking nuclear fusion on a stellar scale.
See, this is where I feel like we started by looking at the hard science of barometric pressure and thermodynamics and biological adaptations, which is all somewhat grounded. But when a character is dragging a functioning atmospheric ecosystem to the sun at near light speed and birthing red stars, the hard science just completely breaks down. Physics can no longer explain the sheer scale of the energy she is outputting.
No, it can't. And the sources suggest that when the rigid physics fail to explain her cosmic feats, we have to look at the one element of her character that defies science entirely.
Magic.
Magic.
The Reddit discussions are full of fans asking if the X gene essentially just turned Storm into a very specific wizard.
Right.
It brings up this literary concept of magic systems. You know, you have hard magic, which operates on strict logical rules and costs, like her manipulating barometric pressure to attack an inner ear or the biological need to regulate her temperature.
Use scientific stuff.
Exactly. But then you have soft magic, which is mystical, limitless, and unexplained, like birthing a star or ignoring the infinite energy requirements of near light speed travel. So are the writers intentionally blending these systems so they don't have to explain the physics, preserving her aura as a literal goddess?
It is absolutely a deliberate blend, and it is canon within the Marvel Universe. Yeah. Storm is descended from a long, ancient line of African witch priestesses. This matrilineal bloodline, which is actually characterized visually by their white hair and blue eyes, grants her legitimate, potent, magical potential that is completely separate from her mutant X gene.
Wait, completely separate?
Yes. Even if she never possessed a mutant gene, she would still be a magical conduit.
That completely reframes everything. The Wikipedia sources even know that in the Marvel Tarot, she is officially classified as the High Priestess. And her mystical spirit is so profoundly resilient that she once successfully hosted the consciousness of eternity itself, which is a cosmic feat almost no mortal biological entity could survive.
It acts as the perfect literary loophole for the writers. By keeping her baseline powers grounded in just enough hard physics like the electrolysis, the thermodynamics, the sensory perception of energy vectors, they make her feel incredibly real and dangerous. But by leaving her upper limits ambiguous and steeped in this ancient magical bloodline, they allow her to remain mythic. Because explaining the exact, rigid science of how she manifests a red star would just strip away the awe.
You need both. You need the science fiction and the fantasy to make Storm work. She's this hyper-intuitive, micro-scale telekinetic whose mutated biology miraculously allows her to survive the very atomic chaos she orchestrates, while simultaneously being backed by this ancient magical bloodline that elevates her to a cosmic goddess when the physics just run out.
It's the perfect combination, and the sources reveal one final, crucial detail. Her powers, whether scientific or magical, are intrinsically tied to her emotional state and the Earth's electromagnetic field.
Oh, like her mood affects the weather.
Exactly. She constantly, rigorously suppresses extreme feelings to prevent violent, accidental weather outbreaks. She has to maintain absolute emotional control, or the atmospheric pressure drops, the winds howl, and the sky literally reflects her anger.
That is a staggering psychological burden. She can never just lose her temper without risking a natural disaster.
Never. And it opens up a terrifying hypothetical regarding her connection to the global climate. We discussed the butterfly effect earlier, right?
Yeah, how manipulating a storm in one area borrows against the entire planet's equilibrium.
So here is a thought to leave you with.
Okay.
If a single Omega-level mutant's momentary bad mood can cause a localized hurricane, what happens to the global climate if she just has a bad year?
Oh, man.
We're not talking about her turning into a villain and intentionally destroying cities. What happens to the ecosystems of the entire planet if Storm experiences a quiet, lifelong depression?
The global climate implications of that are just devastating. It really reframes the whole character. It's definitely something to chew on the next time you see that comic panel of a casual wave of the hand bringing the rain. Yeah. There's always so much more going on beneath the surface. Keep asking those big questions about the science hidden inside your favorite fiction. Get you on the next deep dive.